Alright, now welcome back to Shun for Good Reason.
Who are you?
I'm Anna.
I'm Tess.
You just wanted to hear my radio voice again.
That's right.
Welcome back to WKVMV, where we play only Christian music, because all the rest of you.
Safe for the whole family.
Safe for the whole family. Bringing the love of Jesus.
To Southern Colorado.
Bienvenidos a Camp Rio. I've done Radio Spotter too.
Well, at least one of us.
Trayendo el amor de Cristo al valle.
What she said.
Bringing the love of Jesus to the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah.
Because you can't, it's just the valle when you live there. But otherwise, you have to call it the Rio Grande Valley or nobody understands.
Well, there's
And
lots
then
of
when
valleys.
and then when you do say that, they're always like, oh, so you lived in El Paso? And no, I did not. I lived in the valley. El Paso is not the same. It's a problem.
The valley is south, 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 south. And if you think you're south enough, go farther south, Texas.
Mm-hmm. And if you hit Mexico, go east a little ways and then farther south.
Yeah. There's more Texas.
Yes, there's always more Texas. Absolutely ridiculous. How's your life this week?
That's how I feel about my life right now. It's the most incomprehensible thing. Everybody thinks I have the easiest job in the world at my job right now, because I literally don't have any, like this week I had 0 students in my class.
Oh, wow.
Because, I have like 1.5, and that half student is at his sending school most of the time. And the other student was gone this week. But, it basically doesn't change my job hardly at all. Actually, if anything, it's harder, because I end up doing more things in other places in the school. Because I have time, and I help out with other classes, and I've been co-teaching reading, writing, science, social studies all year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still do all those same things every day. So it's weird because it looks like I don't have much to do, but really I just have all of the same things to do I always have to do.
Just with a couple fewer of the same people.
Yeah, it just looks a little different. Yeah. So it's weird. But I also got to be in the classroom I'm going to be in next year. That was encouraging for the most part.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It was one of those things where it was like this, ambiguous, impossible thing in my head, but when I showed up and just hung out, oh, it's just a classroom with kids, I do every day anyways.
It's one of those things that you build up so much in your head and you get there and it's actually just a real place.
Yeah.
That's so often how those things go, though.
Oh, yeah. I also learned that I'm going to have, probably who would be right now, if you ask anybody I work with who the 2 hardest kids are, both of them are going to be in my class next year.
Well, that'll be fun.
Neither of whom are in that class this year, so that's going to be a trip.
I think it'll be fun, honestly.
Me too. It sounds way more interesting than what I'm doing right now. So, I'm excited about that.
Well, that'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Anyway, that's way more than anybody wanted to know about my life, probably.
I planted all those seedlings that I've been cultivating for the past month.
Yeah.
This week.
And it froze.
And then it froze.
That's so sad.
That is so sad.
It might be okay.
Your dog is crying because the children went to the park without her. I don't know if that comes across on the microphones or not.
Probably.
Probably.
Why'd they leave her here?
I don't know.
Goofy kids.
It wasn't my idea. I would text one of them. Maybe I should text one of them to come back for her.
Yeah. We have a husky dog.
We do have a husky dog.
Who needs to husky a lot. She needs to do lots of huskying, which is usually walking or running.
Yeah, but she needs to do a significant portion of it, or she does not consider it good enough. For for the audio that just cut out, we were texting the children to come please get this dog because she's loud. Tess?
Anna, did your plants freeze?
Some of them froze. But we'll see if some of them survive.
Okay. Anyway.
Anyways, we are back to doing the shows that we started last week, which are, first off, Where Are We Now? And second, How Did We Get Here? They're not going to correspond exactly, so our Where Are We Now?
Colorado Springs.
For this week.
Oh.
Is exploring portions of fundamentalist Christianity specifically as they are right now in cultural context, and we're going to talk about QAnon.
Wow, I haven't heard that term in a long time.
I know, aren't
Does
you
that
excited?
count as things happening right now?
It's more of a how we got here, but it feels prescient because of how much of it is falling apart in the light of the last week and a half as Trump has threatened the Pope and posted a picture on social media of himself as Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And then a couple weeks ago, it was Easter Sunday, and he said something like, praise Allah, and dropped some F-bombs in what would have been the Easter message for any prior president. So we can see some things start crumbling, and a lot of the people that I knew are now, because we only followed each other on social media after some things happened, a lot of those ones that were very, very vocal in their conspiracy theories and their Pizzagates and everything are shockingly quiet right now, and a lot of them are taking breaks from some social media just for their mental health. So what is something that you've heard recently that's made you realize that QAnon and that train of thought has not entirely disappeared yet?
I don't know. Man, you should have prepped me for that one.
I should. Okay.
I don't know.
For me, it's
I'm
been
sure there's something.
that a lot of those people went silent, but not all of them have gone silent. There has been a rash on my social media of stories people are posting of responses to, like, still fundamentalist Christian responses to the Trump post where he was Jesus, and they're just like retooling it in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
To where, like, he's sitting with the children and being kind, or he's actually dressed like a doctor, etc., etc., etc. Just trying to roll things back and still claim that
he was being a doctor.
Exactly. He wasn't actually doing that. Everything's fine. Everything's great. And one of the things that seems to be most harmful to them actually has been the very surprising Lego AI music videos coming out of Iran.
Yeah.
Which have only been allowed to come out because, for one thing, a lot of Iran's major leaders have been bombed by America. So there's a younger generation rising up to take power there. And they haven't been taken down by Lego copyright because nobody's addressed it, but also because Iran deals in oil and Legos are a Swedish petroleum-based product.
I thought that.
And Sweden's just not really saying much about it or claiming any sort of copyright laws that they would
Very
otherwise.
Swedish of them.
Isn't it? I think it's adorable, honestly. It's coming from a less overt, yes, Trump is Jesus, Trump is going to save the world, and they're trying to roll it back into a more coded message. To be like, no, but sometimes God uses bad people to do good things. Because King David wasn't good.
So they're like, this was clear. Yeah. I mean, I guess the only things I saw were people trying to justify. Well, I remember what I saw. It's I don't know if it's specifically QAnon coded, but definitely MAGA, because Riley Gaines posted something.
Who's that?
She is the swimmer who tied for 5th place with Leah Thomas
In
swimming.
Like, there's more than one swimming competition. Was it
I don't
July?
remember. I don't remember what it was. A swimming competition. I
Okay.
honestly don't know which one.
The Olympics or the Nationals
It,
or something.
it wasn't the Olympics, but some bigger competition.
Okay.
But not. I don't remember which one. I have no idea. I'd have to look it up. But I know it was 5th place. They tied. And this is and then ever since then, Riley Gaines has kind of launched this whole political campaign for herself of anti-trans on an anti-trans platform, essentially. Just bonkers, because I mean, essentially her argument is she didn't get 4th place.
Was that the one who was accused of being
or 5th place?
transgender?
Is that she didn't get 5th place?
And that's why she's anti-trans? Is she the one who was accused
No.
of being transgender?
No.
Because that was a whole swimming scandal recently.
No. This is an old swimming scandal. Riley, I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago when the actual competition happened. And she's built this whole platform on anti-trans, and she's a very big figure in the Republican Party. And, you know, she shows
I think
up
we're
up
thinking
there.
of the same person, and I was just saying recent, and you were saying historic,
No,
and we
that's
were
possible.
meaning the same thing.
Yeah, that's
Because I
possible.
was thinking a couple of years ago was recent.
Oh, okay.
But this is the one who they say was denied the platform because a trans swimmer
Yeah.
was there? Okay.
Leah Thompson
Okay.
is a trans woman who tied for 5th place with Riley Gaines. And Riley Gaines just made this huge deal about it. Is essentially what it came down to.
Okay.
And but anyway, so she's made a whole platform out of this, and she's, you know, supported Trump and very strongly, and but then the picture thing,
Right.
where Trump posted himself as Jesus came out, and she and Riley Gaines posted something along the lines of, he really should, you know, he could use some humility or something like that.
Interesting.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, like it was like a subtle criticism
Mm-hmm.
of Trump for sure. Like you could hear it in the tone of the I think it was a tweet or something, that, you know, she was criticizing what Trump did by posting that picture, and which is super abnormal from that side.
Right.
You know, to criticize Trump in any way is just, it's not a thing that happens from MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, which is QAnon world, right? And you don't see criticism. It's always pussyfooting around, right?
Yeah. Usually it is.
There's no good term for it. Kiss ass. Like
brown nose.
Brown nose.
Yeah.
God, they're all such terrible terms. But that's because we it's so looked down upon in society. But I don't know, it's baffling to me watching it with Trump, because they just basically worship the guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of what happens when a conspiracy enters a religious space and really takes off. And the religious spaces that we were in were really primed to be specifically and intentionally greenhouses, essentially, for this kind of thought, to make it really take off. So I am going to, just in case anybody's not familiar with QAnon, I'm going to read the intro to QAnon from Wikipedia, which has been shown to be a very reliable source.
For sure. More reliable than most sources we get these days.
Right? Okay. It has its moments, though.
Yeah.
QAnon is a far-right American political conspiracy theory and political movement that originated in 2007. QAnon centers on fabricated claims.
2007. Sorry.
Oh, 2017. I'm sorry, I missed
Oh, okay. That makes way more sense.
I know. QAnon centers on fabricated claims made by anonymous individuals or individuals known as Q, Clearance Patriot, more commonly known as Q. Q's claims have been relayed and developed by online communities and influencers. Their core belief is that a cabal of satanic, cannibalistic child molesters in league with the deep state is operating a global child sex trafficking ring, and that Donald Trump is secretly leading the fight against them. secretly.
Right. Sorry.
QAnon has direct roots in Pizzagate, another conspiracy theory that appeared on the internet 1 year earlier, but also incorporates elements of many different conspiracy theories and unifies them into a larger interconnected theory. QAnon has been described
but
as a
that's
cult.
gotta be one of the funniest sentences.
What?
Where the first time I mentioned Pizzagate.
QAnon has direct roots in Pizzagate?
Well, right before it was a say, though.
That Donald Trump is secretly leading the fight against...
No, maybe it was the second time you said Pizzagate.
Oh.
Sorry. It's bad radio.
During the first presidency of Donald Trump, QAnon followers believed the administration would conduct arrests and executions of thousands of members of the cabal on a day known as the Storm or the Event. QAnon conspiracy believers have named Democratic politicians, Hollywood actors, high-ranking government officials, business tycoons, and medical experts as members of the cabal of pedophiles. QAnon is described as anti-Semitic or rooted in anti-Semitic tropes due to its fixation on Jewish financier George Soros and conspiracy theories about the Rothschild family, which are a frequent target of anti-Semites.
It's just funny that there's all these conspiracy, sex trafficking, deep state buzzwords, and then it's like, Pizzagate. All I can think is pizza.
Yeah, so the
Like it said its roots were in Pizzagate. Like
yeah.
one of its roots.
Are you familiar
Pizzagate.
Are you familiar with Pizzagate?
It's been a long time since I thought about it.
Okay.
I do know what it is if I'm reminded, but
back when, it's been a while. But 2016, 2017, Podesta was one of the people working for Clinton's campaign. Some of his emails were leaked.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah.
The QAnon movement and
Pizza's a code word.
Q True Patriot believed that they had a secret code within them, and that the secret code revealed that in a pizzeria in Washington, D.C., Democrats and Jews would go and molest children in essentially the basement of this pizzeria. So it's called Pizzagate because it was supposed to be associated with this very specific pizzeria in Washington, D.C. So yes, it has roots in Pizzagate.
Yeah.
Which is, it's interesting how many things have come to light recently and just like flung that on its head.
So backwards.
It's so backwards. It's so backwards because it's it feels like not necessarily a dive, but there was this little game that we had in my 5th grade language arts classroom in the missionary school / expatriate school in Bolivia. And I'm sure everybody knows what this is except for me, but I'd never seen it before. It had a wooden base with a bunch of like letters, and the letters were all on dice. And then it had this plastic dome that goes over it, and then you shake it and you take off the dome and you're timed to see how many words you can find.
Boggle.
Probably. I don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
We didn't have the instructions. We just did what we could because those had been lost to mildew years earlier. But
well, it's like Boggle.
It feels like Boggle.
Yeah.
It's like, because you've got themes. It's pizza and pedophiles and Jews and Trump. And you just like shake them all up and see what order they fall in. And because of that, you get whatever it is that falls out. That's what it feels like. It's like QAnon was real, and you just put it in the boggle, and you boggled it, and then this is the new boggle. Epstein and pedophiles and potentially pizza. We haven't heard about the pizza yet. And protecting Israel at all costs and giving them lots of bombs and just right. Shaking everything up in the weirdest ways.
Right.
So the question... sorry, go ahead.
I might be getting ahead of myself, but I'll just point it out as an interesting thing that QAnon was so anti-Semitic, at least according to what you were just reading on Wikipedia, and in my experience, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then also like the pro-Israel thing is so MAGA.
Yes.
That's an interesting boggle thing.
It is an interesting boggle thing. And a lot of that goes back to what we were talking about in previous episodes, which is the Zionist movement and the Jews for Jesus movement. So QAnon started on 4chan, entirely separate of church spaces.
Right.
But once it became more widespread, it migrated into those church spaces, which, as we discussed, have been primed to be breeding grounds and greenhouses for this sort of thing. So once that conspiracy theory makes its way into a religious context, and your pastor starts believing parts of it, and your parishioners start believing parts of it, it fragments into smaller narratives, which are easier to handle. Because you don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to do all of QAnon. All you have to do is God wants Trump to be president.
Yeah.
Obviously,
So,
because he's the Republican,
what
so
is it
God wants him to be president.
about these churches that makes them so fertile?
That makes them so fertile? Well, let's talk about those narratives first, though.
Okay.
Democrats like pizza.
Well,
Everybody likes pizza, but Democrats like pizza. Easy narrative. The rest of the narratives are Democrats are, not the rest, but some more narratives are Democrats are sending encoded messages, and we need to make sure that we search all their messages, which leads to Hillary and Hunter Biden and all that sort of thing, because they're obviously sending coded messages and we need to figure them out. And you just go from there and sort of snowball in your own faith terms. And then you can integrate them into how you believe, which is where that comes from. So QAnon is the seed, and these, I can't stop thinking about my garden, I'm sorry. I'm so disappointed. QAnon is the seed, and then all of these church belief systems are the fertilizer that makes that, because they've already put in that institutional distrust. You have to distrust the government, you have to distrust media, you have to distrust science, because all the truth that we have is in the Bible. So obviously anything outside that is bad. But if we filter these conspiracy theories through the Bible, then we're going to come out with something that we can actually work with and take out a lot of the anti-Semitism and fix it to where it's actually going to work. And that's what propagated QAnon into this wider spread movement, essentially. And then when you put on that they've spiritualized the political identity of republicanism to where God and nation are essentially the same. You have to worship one and the other, essentially. They would never say it in these terms, but I came out of it, so I can say that now. But you have to worship both of them.
Well, we talked about that.
Exactly.
Couple episodes.
And then you have this, we also talked about the homeschool movement and this theme of relying on alternative ecosystems of information, to where you don't do mainstream, so to speak, media. You consider any media that has been approved by your church as subversive and therefore more true. So your homeschool newsletter, your church newsletter, Fox News in a lot of cases, anything with a strong Republican bent that your church and your family and your pastor are okay with is part of your alternative ecosystem of information.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, I don't remember if we talked about this much, but I think, well, it's easy to gloss over or forget when you're talking about that, is that you have your very own ecosystem of everything. I call it the small bubble.
Yeah.
And what's easy to forget is how scary everything outside of that bubble is.
Exactly.
There's just this inherent fear of everything that's not in that bubble. It's scary, it's bad, it's evil, it's wrong, and then you could, those are like the light words. It could be satanic.
I love that you brought that up, because I'm going to tell you this and then I'll let you continue. My next 3 points are binary thinking, so good versus evil, nothing outside. Yeah. Authority outsourcing.
Yeah.
Which means that you have specific authority figures, and fear-based interpretations of media.
Okay. Yeah.
So keep going, but yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's because, like, when I brought that up, because it can be nice in those moments to label those things you're scared of, to have a story about, to have a narrative about it that you can, that makes things a little bit more understandable in your bubble, which I is how I see QAnon developing. Is that was a narrative that people inside the small bubble could that made it easier to think about, right? It gave those hazy, misty fears more tangible narrative that they could wrap their minds around.
Yeah.
And anyway.
Well, and it's really easy when you're looking back on things or you're stepping outside of that bubble or that ecosystem to look back and say, idiots.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck were you thinking? This is so dumb.
Yeah.
All of this is so dumb. But you have to step back for a second because that's a very reactionary way to think about it. And just realize these people have a very specifically constructed ecosystem of what they're allowed to believe and think and do and consume. And if you're inside that, it's a terrifying place to be, and you don't have the information to leave. Because leaving would mean you are joining Pizzagate, you are joining the big bad, you are stepping outside of the authority of the church, and your soul will be lost forever, and the souls of your children, and your entire extended family will be at risk if you ask questions about this belief system. It's a very dangerous world to live in, and the biggest security that you can get in living in that world is just knowing that you are the good guy in this narrative, and everybody else is the big bad guy. But at least you're safe, and as long as you stay inside this bubble and are willing to protect it with your life and all the guns that you're allowed to buy, you're gonna be okay. It's a terrifying place to live, and
yeah.
It's something that has been approached in a lot of deconstruction spaces with fear, loathing, and hatred instead of with the compassion that it takes to find somebody who is terrified and lead them out into the light. Which obviously try to avoid savior complexes. But
yeah.
But just approaching people where they are instead of where you think they should be. Approaching them as you are a human and you are scared instead of you are an idiot and I know better than you is very, very different approach.
Much better starting
point. Yeah. But the algorithm within Republican fundamentalist Christianity is it rewards the certainty that you are right. It rewards emotional intensity, so the anger at people outside of your space, and it rewards identity reinforcement. So those things that will create a feedback loop that tells you how good you are, how right you are, how holy you are, how good you are, how right you are, how holy you are, how good you are, how right you are, how holy you are. And it just feeds back and feeds back and feeds back to where as long as you're saying, it's like a mantra that you tell yourself inside. And it just builds and builds and builds until this does become your entire identity, because these are the words that you fall back on your inner dialogue.
Yep.
It's a hard place to be. But this also creates within the people who are still stuck in it, it creates this sense of urgency. We have to save the world. We have to do it now. These children are being raped, and Democrats are eating pizza, and something has to be done about it. And you have to be vigilant, because one of the big stories that they actually told when QAnon was starting back when we were in the pastorate was the Democrats are trying to steal your children. They're actively trying to steal your children. Anytime you look away from your baby in Walmart, Target, Sprouts, what have you, some Democrat is going to be there trying to steal your child and sell them to the Democrats. And they're going to go to a pizza parlor and be raped and murdered and eaten. And it was, they said that, in no uncertain terms, my Facebook feed constantly told me that if I did not have one hand on my child at all times, a Democrat would steal them, and especially if they were young, because Democrats love babies because there's more tender. So they were going to take my baby and fillet it and put it on a pizza and ship it to Washington, D.C. before I could turn around. Like, that was my whole Facebook feed for a while. Which is terrifying if that's where you're trying to get news and where you're trying to get updates on your friends and family, and every friend or family member is posting their own horror story of how they saw somebody looking at them askance in a grocery store, or they turned around and their baby was gone, that sort of thing. Highly dramatized. It was a very scary place to be, and it dysregulates you intentionally so that you have that drive to go back to what is safe and what is okay and what is holy and what makes you different from those people who are trying to abduct your baby and fillet them and put them on a pizza, essentially. Baby tartar was something that came up fairly often.
We had very different Facebook feeds.
We had very different Facebook feeds.
Well, it's. I mean, and again, I feel like it sounds so unrealistic to probably a lot of people.
Yeah.
That any of that's a thing. Like, because like, but I don't know what comes to my mind is when you're talking about that, because like that wasn't so powerfully a thing on my feeds at the time, but I don't know why I have weird social media.
Well, but it's not.
But
At the time, though, just think about where we were, because I was a female presenting pregnant person who had recently given birth to several children. Like,
yeah.
it was very targeted and very algorithmic. You were a male presenting person who was working as a pastor, so your algorithm is giving you these.
Yeah.
What was your algorithm giving you?
I don't remember. That's the other worst part. I don't really. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is a long time ago.
I remember lots of Bible quotes. That's what I remember.
Well, the reposts that I saw from
Theology
people
bros.
with your presentation, your age, were lots of theology bro things.
Yeah.
And lots of, I am the lion, this is the lion, we are the lion, lions, lions, lions.
Anna remembers lions.
I remember lots of lions. There was like a lion art contest at some point. It was lots of, we are strength, we are strong, we are fighting against
/
darkness.
We are sinners.
Yes, we are very sinny.
God is everything, all powerful, and you know, we're broken
so sinny.
Sinners.
I'm so sinny.
Yeah. But actually, where my brain went wasn't so much my feed, which was weird and specific, but more like I feel like, you know, people start talking about cannibalism, and probably your average person probably doesn't think about cannibalism that much, but for me growing up, it was a fairly common topic when you started talking about missions and going into the dark third world countries to save cannibals. Like, it was a very, like, it was always presented as this huge reality that you were going to have to face when you were taking the gospel to the ends of the earth, that you were going to run into cannibals. Like, that was a very, very specific narrative that was part of my childhood. It's
interesting that you bring that up, too, because, like, that, as a third-generation missionary to deepest, darkest South America, that was something that we thought that we were dealing with on a regular basis. Like, one of my family stories is how my grandpa and my dad and the whole family went up deep into the Andes, and there were 3 tribes all warring it out up there, and I can't remember what their names were. I should remember this better because I've told this story so many times. I remember the Hukamani and the Laimi, but I don't remember what other one it was. Anyways, I believe it was the Hukamani who were the bad guys in this specific one. My grandparents went to one of the three tribes and brought them the joy of Jesus. And then they stayed and they were doing this wonderful revolution in the city, and well, not the city, it was a village. And everybody was coming to Jesus and they were all singing and they were all happy. And then they had this whole evangelical revolution and everybody in the whole village believed in Jesus. And then, dark in the night, when everyone was asleep, an elder of the village stole into the tent and tapped my grandfather. And my grandfather awoke and did not pull a gun on him. And the elder said, "You need to come with us." And he brought my grandfather to the gathering square, and several of the elders were there. And they all said, "We appreciate you so much. Thank you for bringing Jesus. You're amazing. Jesus is amazing. We'll be Jesus lovers forever," etc., etc. However, the other two tribes, the other two tribes were the Hukamani and the Laimi, but I don't remember the first one. Anyways, the other two tribes, you did not know about this about us before, but we are all cannibals and believe that we can devour the essence and magic of another human being by drinking their lifeblood.
How Christian of them.
And these two other evil tribes who have not yet accepted Jesus have decided that they've never tasted white man flesh before. And they're coming. I don't know how they found this out. But in the middle of the night, my grandfather had to wake the family, quickly disassemble and pack the tent. And they fled for their lives before the cannibalistic natives who would have eaten them and drunk their blood, were it not for Jesus, who had come in a vision to an elder who now believed in Jesus to tell the white people to flee.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I needed to tell you my cannibal story. I almost didn't exist because cannibalism, okay. They would have eaten my father first because he was youngest and most tender and palatable, and they could have made him into tartar on a pizza.
You lived in South America.
I did.
And do you think that's a true story? I don't know. I didn't live in South America. It's the only story you have, as far as I know, about cannibalism. Which is surprising, considering...
It's not the only story I have about cannibalism, but it's my best story about cannibalism. Well, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that. I have a lot of stories. But okay, first off, you have to believe that everybody in this village believed in Jesus suddenly.
Right, which is a stretch.
I mean, if I had essentially Iron Age tools and somebody drove up in a Jeep, I might believe a lot of things too, just to be honest.
And not only just believe in Jesus, but believed in Jesus the way that you thought you were presenting Jesus to them.
Exactly.
Which is probably totally not
how
they
not
saw
the thing.
it.
Also, drinking blood is a whole thing for a lot of people, and I get that. It has never been properly documented that any of those tribes were cannibals.
Yeah.
Not in a way that I would believe.
Not scientifically.
There have been a lot of white people saying a lot of white people things about a lot of people that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And you know what I would do if I were in that case? I would bullshit the fuck out of things. If a bunch of white explorer dickheads came and were like, "I have the best thing ever," and it was just some sort of
they just wanted to get rid of you guys.
book, I'd be like, "Oh yes, I believe this entirely." And also, my friends want to eat your children, so maybe run. But no, it's stupid. And then my brother believes that currently.
I almost told that story.
Yeah. My brother believes that there are currently cannibal tribes in the Philippines, like widespread cannibal tribes who come to his evangelical missions
in 2025
and sob to hope that God absolves them of cannibalism.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that people have eaten other people's skin.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No, for sure.
I have witnessed someone taking a bite out of his own bicep. I believe that people have eaten people's skin. It's not a hard thing. If I were part of the Donner Party, I probably would have made a delicious stew. Either stirring or flaying off parts of myself. I don't know. I just think it's a really good way to make people really emotional.
Yeah.
And do what you want them to do.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, either way, your family, every missionary I've known and met, and all of the narratives made the very predisposed. Were made them predisposed to believe this because they already thought that. Well, again, just like me, we were all told you're gonna have to go face cannibals in the jungle.
That's right. You're gonna have to face cannibals.
And
They're gonna want to
convert
eat
them
you.
to Christianity.
You know, here's a very not safe for work take. Do you feel like maybe they were taking meat eaters in the wrong way?
What?
I just
Like translation wise?
How many of these do you think were just blowjobs gone wrong?
Oh. I hadn't thought of it.
Because technically you're eating men.
Oh, man. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that one.
I mean, it's a very not safe for work take on the whole thing, but I feel like, I mean, call me a cannibal, but I feel like translation could go poorly in a lot of ways.
No, for sure.
In a lot of ways.
But, yeah. That's interesting. What do you think about
It is. Moving right along.
Nobody in our world would have thought of it because
they didn't believe in sex.
Much less gay sex.
So since
Or any other
2020, QAnon has taken on a more wide-ranging role.
They did believe in marital sex.
They did believe in marital
Yes.
sex, but only for the sake of procreation. It's become less centralized and it's less explicitly QAnon. A lot of people have put away their QAnon flags, gone back to Make America Great Again flags, or just straight up American flags on all of their stuff. And there are narratives embedded in everyday conversation that we may or may not clock if we're not on the in-group of that. But part of that is that this is a community boundary marker, because you recognize the people that are in your community. This is gaydar, but for QAnon, essentially. You clock the people who are part of your community. You clock the people who know the things that you know and believe the things that you believe. And you can do that if you're a Christian or if you're a gay person.
Yeah.
Those of us in the more rainbow community, you look at somebody and then you look at somebody. And if they're looking at you and then looking at you and then you do like the little wrist flick or you shoot them the right kind of wink, they know what's going on. They know that you think the same kind of things. They know that you do the same kind of stuff. And the same thing exists for the QAnon/MAGA community.
Yeah.
You recognize the insiders.
I don't. No, I'm just kidding.
I still do, and it's a problem. So the things that make this a problem are, we're going to make this really specific to us, continued family estrangement, because I recognize when my family members say MAGA shit, and I do not respond in the way that I'm supposed to respond. They'll start praying or saying a thing, and I don't give them the typical back. If you've ever seen be with you," from John Mulaney. That little bit that he does where he came back to Catholic Church and everybody said, and the priest says, "Peace be with you," and then the congregation for the longest time was supposed to say, "And with your spirit," and also with you. Yeah. And then they switched it over in 2017-ish to "and with your spirit." Yeah. Nobody knows why they switched, as far as I can tell. I'm sure there's great theological content there. Somebody DM me. But you clock the things that you're supposed to know how to say and what to say. So if somebody says, "He is risen," you say,
"He is risen indeed."
Yeah.
God, I always hated that.
And if I say, "and the church says," you say,
"I don't know that one."
Oh, that one is "amen."
Oh.
Baptist one.
Out of context, it didn't hit me.
I know.
I do know that one.
It's because you've been out for too long.
I might have got it if you said just like, "and everybody said."
And everybody said.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Yeah, there you go. So it becomes incredibly problematic when somebody is so far down one road and somebody is so far down another road to actually come back to where you can meet them again. So not only do you see fragmentation within families, but you see fragmentation within churches. So those people that go farther down the QAnon, you see more churches fragmenting around that. So these people are going down a very specific path. The IFCA even has seen fractures within churches recently. The congregational churches, the Methodist Church specifically, when we were just coming out of them, had a fragmentation around the more MAGA chapter and the more liberal chapter. And that was a very tough time for us coming out of that, having seen both sides. And then there's so much difficulty maintaining mixed faith relationships, essentially. It's very difficult if you believe that your way of thinking and believing is the only way to think and believe. It's really, really hard to reach out to the family members or friends who don't believe exactly the same things and find any sort of common ground. Because as far as our families / ex-churches are concerned, we are the enemy. We might as well be in a pizza parlor basement molesting children and filleting them onto pizzas. Like, we are cannibals.
There you go. There's the connection.
I promise you, I have connections.
I know.
But when you dichotomize things so wholeheartedly and you follow that all the way down the rabbit trail, which you are trained to do in those sort of social and religious circles, you have to believe anybody outside of that is nebulous, and the only thing that you have to put into words with that evil nebulousness is cannibal, Pizzagate, Democrat, which becomes a problem.
Transgender.
Exactly.
Mind virus.
All of those things. So when we say, "come meet us for a picnic at the park," what they hear is, "You want to come eat some baby pizza?" It's very difficult to find common ground.
Essentially, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to come eat baby pizza and become transgender?
Yeah,
is what they're hearing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. Like, even... I mean, I'm not allowed to see my nephew because of that.
Yep.
All right? Because of the transgender thing, very specifically.
And notably, as of 9 months ago, our children are also no longer allowed to see your nephew.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know from direct. Well, no, I do know a little bit from direct conversation. The little I know is, you're going to give him the wrong ideas about what gender is, and because the Bible is very clear about Adam and Eve being created, and you and my very existence stands in direct opposition to what the Bible says, all right? And which is, I mean, that's maybe the slightly more logical side of the argument, but the other side that isn't said is what you're talking about, and it's that fear of, like, it being catching almost.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was sort of said.
If you know that
but-
something's outside of that and is okay, then obviously you're going to try to do that. And before you know it, you're going to be eating babies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're gonna be evil. Whatever
Yeah.
version of that you have in your mind. It might be eating babies. It might be being transgender. It might be joining the Church of Satan or something. And everybody I think has a slightly different version in their heads
Yeah.
of what evil looks like to them, right? But it might be being a cannibal in Africa or South America or whatever, Philippines. Good God. Anyway, but that's the version of evil in somebody's head, right? Like that's what evil is. That if you follow these particular ways of thinking, you're going to be evil, and it's going to be and I can't be evil, right?
Yeah.
Like there's that, which is understandable. I don't want to be evil.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a hard thing to
Nobody
be
wants to be
You gotta have like a whole lair. James Bond's gonna come at some point. Like it's gonna be a problem. But no, nobody wants to be evil.
Yeah. Well, and there's and we talked about it, earlier. There's that security of being in that bubble.
Yeah.
Of I know it. I know the rules. I know that to a certain degree, you end up feeling safe there because you have whatever version of community you've come to know. You have and a clear delineation of what it would look like to not be in that community, right? So you just kind of avoid that, and you feel safe in that community, and then it makes it so easy to make your decisions, not necessarily based on logic, but based on what decisions do I have to make to stay within this safe community and not start to diverge and end up on the outside of whatever this is, whatever the most right thing is, whatever not being evil is. All I have to do is do that. And so that's, and that's where you get your cognitive dissonance, because it doesn't have to be logical. It just has to fit in a little bubble, and then it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and you get the cognitive dissonance, but you also get like incredibly increased cortisol levels and this hypervigilance to just make sure that nothing that you say can be taken the wrong way by the people around you, which is going to make you part of the out group instead of the in group. And then you're going to be screwed because they're going to realize something, and then you're going to be outed before you can out yourself.
Right.
Which is essentially why we ended up leaving the community, was so nobody could out us.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. But yeah. Being
enfolded cannibals.
Yeah. Well, that would have been, I don't know it probably would have been worse for our families if we'd been outed instead of outing ourselves.
It would. They would have been able to try to spin it, but I don't think it would have gone well. But then when you leave, you have to deal with the grief of having lost not only your community and your income, in our case, every single safety net, and also your entire family. Like you leave all of that and you lose all of that.
Yeah.
And that can lead to panic responses whenever anything feels like it's not going quite your way. And it can also lead to this dissociation that is primarily trying to prevent you from experiencing more grief and more trauma and more hypervigilance.
Yeah, well, it's easier to double down.
That's easy.
Which is how you get to QAnon.
Yeah.
Right? QAnon is just double down, double down, double down.
Mm-hmm.
You just you take the left turn into the bubble every single time.
Yep.
And every left turn it is something a little more bonkers. But you do it because you're not taking the right turn, right? You're not leaving the bubble.
Yeah.
And so okay, like maybe go way back to 2015 and Trump's running for president and you get a little left turn of, well, I can't vote for a Democrat,
mm-hmm.
right, to stay in this little bubble. So and Trump's the front runner, and so in order to stay in the bubble, I have to vote for Trump.
Yep.
Right.
And you can't vote for somebody else because that is the Republican.
Yeah, and it follows, and the Republicans are
pro-life.
Pro-life, right?
That's
which
one
is
of the
this
biggest ones.
Huge, which is one of the huge perimeters of the bubble.
Yeah.
Right. You can't go outside of that.
Yeah. Period.
Right, and so you vote for Donald Trump, and then you start hearing stories about. Well, let's see what. Well, and that was hard because you're like, oh, I don't know, Donald Trump is kind of a sketchy guy, and we didn't like him before, but now we're voting for him,
and then
so
you have to go back to what my father said for Bush. You vote for the platform, not the person.
Well, right, and so then you have this weird dissonance within yourself that the government is really bad, but I'm voting for the right government. And so I think that's where, the swamp and the deep state stuff comes from, is that dissonance, that right-wing dissonance of we're voting for the right people, but there's still, like, I can't actually trust any of this. I can't actually trust the government. I can't, there's clearly something wrong about it that I can't quite put my finger on. Which, and it justifies a lot of that in itself, justifies a lot of things. And it feels really nice to be like, oh yeah, there's a deep state. Yes. Nobody will really talk about it. We don't really know what it is. So it's super nebulous, secret and shit. It's this nebulous thing that we can't define, but it's a narrative that more than one person has out there that we can latch onto, that fits all of our feelings about things going on outside of our bubble. Yep. Right? And it is, because it's a little outside of the bubble. The government's not the church, right? At least in America, specifically. Like, the government it's the evangelical church is always, they can't ever fully trust the government because it's not the church, right?
Well, yes,
there's
because
lots of not church people in it.
And state,
because of that,
going back to homeschool things was so that the government couldn't get involved in the church. Not so the church couldn't get involved in the government. Right. Because if that happened, that would be awesome.
Right. Well, and all that anger about, when the government took prayer out of the schools, and that was a huge thing when I was a kid. Yeah. And so there's this, and all those things created this, like, and the equal rights movement, and
it just felt like a slippery slope that was gaining more and more traction. I want to say traction, but I don't feel like that works on a slippery slope. I want to say lubricant. Gaining more and more lubricant on its way down.
Right, but and again, loosely just creating this unknown fear of the government because they're doing things that we in the church in our little bubble don't want to happen. And so, then Donald Trump comes around, and that's also kind of weird, but we're going to go with it. And so it's kind of easy for me to see people turning to this QAnon idea to start to solve a lot of these dissonance things that they're
because
feeling.
He's like David. Trump is David. Like, David did a lot of weird shit, but God used him really good.
Yeah. I suppose so, yeah.
Is essentially what we were going for back in the QAnon days. Exactly. Yeah. Not gay at all. I have nothing to say about cannibals right now. It's fine. Okay, here's some counter arguments that I want you to address. This is just politics. This has nothing to do with the church.
Well, that's the same thing I was just saying, right? Is like, there's this weird dissonance about politics being not the church, but we have the responsibility to basically try to get the church as involved in politics as possible, so that as many things can happen in line with what the church believes as possible. That was always my impression. Was that was the goal, to get the government to do as many things as we can that are in line with what we believe. That's that's how my parents thought about it. And how they taught me to think about it was how we vote, how we, interact with politics. We don't necessarily trust it. We're just doing everything we can to make
it
that
trustworthy.
like line up with what we believe.
Right.
And it didn't really matter how we did that or right, like it wasn't necessarily well thought through in my world or my parents' world. But it was just, the goal, and I don't even know in a lot of cases that they really thought that through very well. To what the the end goal of that is a theocracy, right? That's the true end of that thought process. Is you have a theocracy, right? Like, and I don't think.
Well, yeah, because when you go back to Abeka, they taught us that the best possible form of government was a beneficent theocratic monarchy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. In my world, you wouldn't say that because democracy was the way to go. That was the the stated line.
Right.
But when you took their thought processes to their end conclusion, Rebecca was, that's where
they
they
said
were
the
going.
quiet part out loud.
Yeah, they said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Next counter argument. This is spiritual warfare.
Oh man, spiritual warfare. See, I grew up with spiritual warfare. Like it was that was a buzzword in my house.
It's coming back again. A lot of people are posting their prayer rooms on TikTok right now.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I know, right? They're war rooms. Sorry, they're war rooms.
Well, that's
yeah,
terrible.
you forgot that they were calling them war rooms, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I did. That wasn't so much a thing in my world, but I don't know. I'm sure somebody did. Say again, what was the statement? It's just spiritual warfare? Is that
Yeah, this is just spiritual warfare.
I have so many thoughts about spiritual warfare. I'm trying to narrow it down. What's just spiritual warfare?
This is spiritual warfare. We are against the foes, the nebulous satanic foes.
Okay.
And we are the last bastion.
Yeah.
Trying to use our own ecosystems of information to make sense of the things that God actually wants us to know and sort through the rubbish to find true truth so we can battle against Satanistic, pedophilic, cannibalistic cabal.
Yeah. Well, and what you said, though, is so much more concrete than any form of spiritual warfare I have ever encountered in my experience of somebody talking about spiritual warfare.
I'm neurodivergent.
Usually spiritual warfare, in my experience, was this very, very abstract thing.
Which cars were prone to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You could pray a hedge of protection around a car. Whatever that means, don't ask me. Look it up.
Do you know neither of our cars have had a hedge prayed around? I suddenly feel like I'm not holy.
But yeah, it was very nebulous, abstract things like that, and specifically, things that come to my mind are, praying in tongues, which like most abstract, nebulous thing you could do ever in the history of the universe.
Well,
is pray
because
in tongues.
then God just prays over you whatever God wants to pray over you.
Right, it's an entirely non-logical thing to do. It's just essentially babbling and by faith believing that you are saying what God wants you to say. Like and
God needs you to say it. Yeah. Otherwise God will not give you the blessings that God wants to give you.
And in doing that, you're conducting spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Right? You're fighting the devil. And again, it's this nebulous spirit world thing where, you might have an idea in your head about what you're fighting against, right? Like it might be the Democrats, or it might be transgenderism, or it might be it could be anything. You could name your thing. That could be the thing you're fighting against in your head about spiritual warfare. But you also have, with spirit praying in tongues, you have this kind of backup that
it doesn't matter. If you forgot something, God's got you.
That's right.
He reminded you in the babbling language.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah, you said whatever God wanted you to say, even if you weren't thinking about it.
That's such an unfair trampoline to land on. I wish I had that. If I could just
yeah, no, it's good.
If I were working in the hospital and I could just go through the managed orders set and just close my eyes and click randomly and then submit it for approval and be like, the doctor just told me to say all of these things.
Yeah.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. I would have pregnancy tests on 85-year-old men. And newborns. It would be amazing. I would love it.
But yeah. But then, I mean, maybe the most concrete form of spiritual warfare I experienced was like you'd have like a fasting retreat to combat the lustful spirit within you or something like that.
Well, yeah, because if you're dehydrated and malnourished, you're not going to be able to get it up. It's obviously going to work.
Not well. It didn't.
You weren't dehydrated enough, okay? You probably should have said some more shamalahamas.
Yeah.
And drunk less water.
Yeah. Probably. I drink a lot of water. I was very good at drinking water.
Yeah, that's your problem.
That's what he told me.
Alright, last one. Concerns are exaggerated. You're just exaggerating. None of us ever told you there were cannibals. That's a stupid thing for you to think, which is what people say now when we come to them on those things and be like, hey, you told me 3 years ago that you met cannibals in the Philippines.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's another part of that cognitive dissonance too, is like, most people we know probably didn't do anything directly with QAnon, right? They probably...
What do you mean by that?
Like they weren't specifically in a QAnon chat group, or they didn't storm the Capitol themselves, or there wasn't like necessarily a direct tie to QAnon, even though they agreed with it. Right? Like they might have read some articles about it, or
shared some articles.
Yeah, that sharing articles probably the furthest real thing they ever did. I'm not saying everybody, but the average evangelical, that's probably what happened, right? And so there's that kind of blah 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 deniability. What is it?
Plausible.
Yeah, plausible deniability in their own heads of, to kind of get them out of the more extreme things that are tied to it.
I never stormed a pizza shop or a Capitol. I'm fine.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's easy to lean into the plausible deniability, because you didn't storm the Capitol yourself. Which, I mean, and I'm sure if you did storm the Capitol yourself, there's still some form of plausible deniability you have in your head. Well, again, because you took all the left turns, right?
Yep.
You did it. None of it's logical, right? You didn't go through necessarily a logical thought process to get to storming the castle.
Farther and farther and farther and farther up.
Yeah, and by the time you get there, all you really have is this dissonance and plausible deniability and feelings to describe how you got there.
Yeah.
Right? And and then you kind of end up just saying, well, it's, what I believe, right?
Right.
And
I meant
everything comes from that, which is the same thing as speaking in tongues.
Sharing that.
And it's the same thing as speaking in tongues, right?
Yeah.
It's a thing that doesn't actually make sense, right? It's not actually logical.
Yeah.
There's nothing concrete about it, but you believe it, right? And there's a list of things you believe about it, and you've told yourself this over and over and over again, because your own brain is going, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
I mean, at least I know mine was. I can't speak for everybody's brain, but I'm assuming probably most people are similar. And your brain, does try to be logical, but then you can, you say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. I believe this, and this is what's happening because this is what I believe, and this is what I'm choosing to do because this is what I believe. And those are the left turns, right?
Right.
And I don't want to do this is kind of the other way. Of course, at a certain point, you've gotten so many left turns, you're not even thinking about what you're avoiding most of the time. You're thinking more about diving deeper into this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And it justifies everything.
Well,
and it's why I have such a hard time going to church now.
Yeah.
or impossible time. I can't.
Yeah.
Can't right now.
Well, and it's been a while since we've been able to because you. No.
Yeah, well, we left-handed ourselves into a lot of things.
Yeah, we did.
And I don't know. I arbitrarily chose left and right. So
no, it's fine.
You could go. You could choose either.
You're reacting to societal constructs about right and left-handedness, and we're going to ignore that for now, and that's okay. But the hard thing for a lot of people to realize is that this is not in the past. This is something that is still going on. There are still people making those left turns, and they are making them constantly.
Yeah.
And you also, hard to say because we grew up in an evangelical mindset, but you can't fix those people. We could go to every family function and find out where it was and just show up and try to argue people into making a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
But that would not be helpful.
I don't see it being helpful.
No.
Well, I mean,
it's a bias confirmation. You are an evil person trying to lead them into wrong things.
Yeah.
And if they listen to you, their world will also spiral out of safety.
Yeah.
Because they're there for safety. Yeah. They're not there because they want to be hateful or they want to be rude or they want to exclude people. Usually they're just there because something about that made them feel safe, and that is where they need to be to feel safe.
Well, and I can't get another person to the point of making the decisions to be at a point where they're open enough to recognize where I'm at and where I've come from. All I can do, I can make those decisions for myself and be there if they get there.
Yeah.
Right? I can try and make decisions of, okay, I can understand. Let me put it this way. I can not just assume because you believe in QAnon, you're a crazy, insane person. Right?
What? I didn't say anything. Plausible deniability.
You said this earlier.
I
know. but if you're willing to talk, we could meet in the middle somewhere as humans and talk about how we got to where these places are. But I can't make the other person get there.
Yeah.
To that whatever middle platform might be. I can't. And it would and I'm assuming that would have to be a middle platform and not a platform way over where I think about the world. No. Right. That's
because that could never happen at this point. Quite honestly.
Yeah, that's a. And in my experience so far, at least like with our families and stuff, is that they are nowhere near the middle platform.
Yeah.
Right. And I probably stood a little too far on my platform side sometimes.
That's fair.
But I had moments where I tried to be more in the middle, and it actually probably the last time I really tried to convince one of my family members of anything. I tried really hard to be in the middle. I was like using arguments from the Bible and everything, like, which I don't know. I was just trying. And after an hour and a half of that, I realized, oh, you're not even on the platform with me. So this is a total waste of my time and your time, and I'm never doing this again. Not being in the middle, but trying to convince somebody to join me in the middle, right?
Yeah. Well, because you can't convince somebody because they're gonna have to take that right turn to meet them in the middle.
Right. Yeah. And maybe someday that'll happen. I don't think it will, but I'm not saying it's impossible. Just outright, because I have to believe there's at least I got to where I am, so I have to believe that anything can happen. Yeah. But outside of just saying anything can happen, I essentially don't think it will.
Yeah. Well, and part of that cognitive rebuilding, that reestablishing what you're willing to believe and what you're willing to trust, and gaining a more nuanced understanding of the world and practicing how to allow uncertainty in your belief system. Right. Part of that has to be boundaries in your relationships. Where are you going to let these people take them? What are you going to let them say to you? Yeah. What sort of conversations are you going to get into? You have to at least try to reduce your exposure to conversations that are intentionally harmful to you. Because that's what they're trying to do, is harm you enough to break you down enough to bring you back into the fold. And you have to protect emotional energy, because these are people who actually feed off of you feeling bad. And they have said that in no uncertain terms, so I don't feel bad saying it. This is an emotional vampire situation to where the worse you feel about the conversation we're having, the more they think they're getting through to you. And the more they're going to be willing to double down on things and hit you and hit you and hit you and hit you in that conversation. They are not going to take that turn to be with you on the platform. They're going to try to drag you down the drain of conspiracy theories and fundamentalist religion again. And you cannot engage in those conversations to the point where they feel like they're having success in that, because if they feel like they're having success, they're just going to keep going. Which means relationships are going to change. Because they can't not.
So they want you in the bubble, and because I mean, it's their version of how they understand loving people is being in the bubble together.
You can sneeze, it's okay.
Oh yeah, let's try it. It didn't happen.
Oh no.
But yeah,
that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, they want you safe in the bubble.
Yeah, and so from their perspective, it makes sense that that's what they have to do. But but it's bad for us on the outside of the bubble to be treated that way.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that. But that doesn't make it not bad. Double negative.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's an ongoing untangling of beliefs and reality.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
That has to keep going. And the best way to try to do that is to ground yourself in places and people that actually make you feel safe and live a more embodied life than you were able to. More
embodied, and it helps to not just try to jump into I'm always right on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, but I am always right.
Yeah, which is I feel like is really hard for me, especially when I'm talking about cult stuff, and because I feel very right about it. Very justified in my thought processes.
Well, especially when people are like, "Oh, I was there for 2 years and it seems fine to me." You're like, "I was there for 30. They broke me to hell." And you've spent so much more time coming out of it and knowing what's going on and why, when the pastor said you should feel really guilty about this, or made them feel like they should feel really guilty about this, and then they got baptized, you feel sorry for them instead of happy for them.
Yeah. Well, I think where I've tried to land on that is I have to know that I feel right about what I think for myself, right? There has to be a certain point where I feel right? Like,
in theory, yeah.
I mean, to the point that my brain is in a logical loop of understanding, right? Like, right in the sense of this makes sense to me, and that doesn't make sense to me, right? Because I've thought about it and processed a lot of things and have studied a lot of things and put all these things together, and so there is, there's a loop of logic in my being where I feel I've come to a decision about what I think is right and some things that I think are not right? But and then when I say I don't have to be right, when I'm talking about, that's when I'm thinking about how angry do I get at other people for believing something different than me, or how is it? Am I just saying this out of revenge, or am I just being spiteful, or
am I angry at somebody else and I'm transferring it onto them?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Transference that's such an easy one. And trying to make a distinction between those things.
Yeah. Well, transference and then counter-transference. Like seeing your family members that are still stuck in it and somebody who you feel like may become stuck in it. It's a hard thing to disentangle your negative experiences with somebody else's positive experience.
Yeah.
Of the same,
sure.
potentially some of the same groups or same spaces.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if I'm any good at that, but but there is a difference between, you know, I there's not a world where somebody can convince me I'm not transgender, right? Like I feel pretty right about that thought process, right? Otherwise, I would not have made the decisions I made, which was confusing for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Because I had to come to a point within myself where I could trust myself enough to be like, oh yeah, this is who I am, and that's right. Right? Like, and it not and then and it also not be a righteous belief that I'm transgender. I don't consider it a righteous belief. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't have to try to convince other people that I'm transgender. Right? I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, which is a really freeing realization. Like I don't have to argue to anybody that I'm transgender. It's not. I don't have to convert people to my transgender.
They don't have to be in the bubble. It's okay.
They don't have to be, right? Which is why, like, you know, it's it's nice when people get it and understand it and and treat me as me, right?
And it's so jarring when they won't use your name.
Oh, so
Try
jarring.
to bring you back
right?
into their
Because it's
bubble.
just a fact, right? It's not, and I'm not even, because they think I'm trying to convert them, right? But and I'm not. Like it's like it's like when you tell somebody, it's weird because it's like if you told somebody your name, and they thought, and every person you told your name thought you were trying to convert them to your name. Right? Which is crazy because it's just your name, right? Like you're not trying to convert anybody; you're just telling them what your name is. But my family all thinks I'm trying to convert them to my name. And why they won't use it, and why it's so hurtful because it's just me. I'm not trying to like make you. Anyway, it's complicated.
It is.
It's complicated.
It's part of that embodiment, though. It's one of those parts where you start to become so confident and so sure of your footing that you don't need them to accept it for it to just be true.
Right. But it's it's confusing to be around him because it makes me angry. It makes me feel because I feel I take on that need to justify things for them.
You're very empathic as well, so
and
that does not help.
And it's just it's not good for me to do that. Because it is that being more right, and the more I'm with them, like I feel like I have to prove myself more right, but I don't.
You don't.
And they're gonna make me want to do it more and more if I keep going down that argument, right? But it's not a worthwhile argument.
It's not. Well, and one of the hardest things you can do is step out of that manufactured argument.
Yeah.
And just be okay with yourself.
Well, it's just like trying to argue about Q. Right? Like it would be like trying to argue Q doesn't exist to somebody who thinks Q exists. Right? It's not. You're just gonna get really mad, right? And they're gonna get really mad. And that me getting mad is something I don't think is right. Right? That's one of those things I've decided I don't think is right. For me to just get angry at people for disagreeing with me. Right? I don't think that's a right thing for me. But it's so hard to avoid when you get caught in those power struggles, and it's just not worth it. And the only solution I found is to just not. You know, I can just be me, and if I can't be me with you, I'll have to be me somewhere else.
Part of the setting boundaries.
Yeah.
So we're going to wind this one down by giving a little bit of confirmation that if you are still untangling deconstruction and coming out of cult practices, you are definitely not alone. Healing is not a linear process. It is ongoing, and the more embodied you can be with making your sympathetic and parasympathetic systems agree with each other as much as possible, the better it's going to be for you. And your ongoing trial and struggle, essentially, is to reclaim your own agency in your beliefs, in your relationships, and in your own body. So if it's okay with you, I do have a very short grounding practice to lead our listeners through. Does that sound okay? If you're feeling a little far away right now, or maybe foggy, numb, or not in your body, it's okay, and you are not doing anything wrong. We're just going to take a few moments to gently come back. There's nothing you need to force. If anything I say does not feel right, then you can ignore it, because you are in control of your own embodied experience. If it feels okay, you can start by pressing your feet gently into the ground, or whatever it is you can reach. Not hard, but just enough to notice that something solid is holding you. If you're sitting down or lying down, you can press your back or legs into whatever it is that's supporting your body. And you can press your hands together, or press your hands into your thighs just enough to feel a little bit of pressure on your body. Now we're not trying to snap you back into your body. We're creating small points of contact and reminders that your body is still here. And you can very gently begin to shift your weight just a little. You can rock slightly forward or back, side to side, anything that feels natural. And you can notice if anything changes. You don't have to feel anything in particular. Even noticing that you feel nothing is still noticing. Bring attention to your hands. Don't look at them, just notice where they are. And then you can slowly look down or up at them, wherever they may be. Gently move your fingers. You can wiggle them or press your thumb to your fingertips. Whatever it is that makes you feel like you have hands again, but take your time. Because this is your body and you're allowed to be here. And if it feels okay, you can place one hand on your chest or stomach. You're not trying to change breathing, just feeling the movement. Sometimes we'll dissociate because something felt unsafe or something felt overwhelming and your system created distance to try to protect you. And that was good. We're not taking that away. You're just letting your body know that it does not necessarily need that much distance right now. So if it feels safe, you can gently start to look around the room. Let your eyes land on something, preferably something that isn't moving, something neutral. Just let your gaze rest. And in your mind, you can say, I'm here. This is now. I am in my body even a little bit. You don't have to come all the way back at once. Just a small shift is enough. One slow breath. Breathe it in and a slightly longer breath out. And if you still feel distant, that's okay. You can come back later. Because your body isn't broken when it dissociates like this. It learned how to protect you, and you are learning how to come back safely. And I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for coming today and talking to me. That was for you specifically. Just trying to take it down because I know that one can be a big issue. we will come back in just a little bit and talk about something potentially a little bit sillier. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, lovely.